Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
And welcome back. I think for once we have managed to successfully frustrate you to the point that there's a lot of things here in our question to start the class. So is that good? Probably not, but yeah, we can start maybe by just talking a little bit. This week we're going to focus on plotting some of the data that we've been dealing with in these different data files you've been learning to read into pandas and to manipulate in Python. And the exercise for this week is going to build on the exercise from last week, so it's important that we maybe start by tackling some of the challenges that you've been facing with this exercise number 6. Some of these things here we can deal with somewhat easily, some maybe not so easily as individually and kind of by themselves, but maybe we can start by saying that we recognize that this exercise was a significant step up in terms of the challenge from the previous exercises, and that comes from two things. One is we did want to expose you to the reality of dealing with raw data files and the kind of processing you might need to do to actually make it somewhat interesting analysis of the data. But the second thing is that I don't really know what I'm doing in pandas, and I wrote part of the exercise in a very different way than Henrique ended up explaining things in the lesson. So I wrote this problem number 2 where I suggested doing things with data series because that's the way I would have done it based on what I understood in pandas, and I realized that's different than what we went through in the lecture. And probably that just data series by itself caused a lot of confusion. So there are some hints about this stuff, but I think probably what we'll maybe do is we can rewrite this problem number 2 after class today just to help clarify, so that if you've already done it, I'm sorry that you had to be frustrated by the problem maybe asking you to do things in a different way than we explained. But if you haven't, or if you've been struggling on this problem too, maybe Henrique and I can sit down and sort of try to make the instructions more consistent with what was done in the lesson. We ended up last week that both of us were quite busy the week prior and just didn't have time to sit down with the lesson and the exercise at the same time, and then things diverged a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I guess those who went to the practical sessions, so the assistants kind of knew what to do as we kind of dealt with this problem.
kind of knew what to do.
Yeah. So I hope at least those who went there kind of got help from the assistants and at least know what to kind of do.
There was a little problem with problem 2. I wrote the code exactly it was at the assistant's paper, and it still didn't work out.
Okay.
So there was some minor problem.
Yeah.
I got it to work right now, but
okay. Well, yeah, we get if it now works, it's good.
Yeah. So anyway, is this good news? I guess kind of good news for you is that the deadline obviously for the exercise has been extended. So the deadlines for exercises 6 and 7 will be next week on Friday. So you have a bit of extra time, and hopefully if we rewrite some of the just the way that problem 2, for instance, is described, I'm hoping that will help you, for those of you who are still struggling to kind of figure out what to do or how to do what you're supposed to do. And we can also then maybe take a look at the hints and see if there's any additional hints that we can give you to help point you in the right direction. I personally don't think that problem 2 and 3 are are bad problems necessarily, just that maybe we've not given you a description that makes it as easy to get to the final kind of ending point as some of the earlier exercises, and so sorry about that. Regarding the questions here, I mean, there's a number of them that are just people complaining about having spent a lot of time on problems 2 and 3, and again, I think we've addressed that a little bit, and we'll try to maybe post a few extra hints and things. You're welcome to come again to the work sessions on Thursday and Friday. We'll try to maybe prep the assistants just with some additional tips that might be helpful for those of you who are still working on this. And I guess there's one specific question here that we can address. I think there's already a hint about it.
Yeah, so there's the kind of second one from above. So if problem 2 ends up with 700 something rows and problem 3 with only 12, how can the two of those can be compared? So there is a hint in the, if we maybe show it from here.
We're just going to switch to
So basically the basic idea how to kind of deal with these kind of things, that you have another data set that has, well, in this case only 12, and the other one has multiple ones. But basically you have some information between those data sets that you can actually use to join the two tables together. So how to proceed on that kind of type of problem is to use a table join. There are different ways of kind of also, in addition to table join, there are other ways, but that is by far the easiest. So there is an example here in the hints, joining data from one data frame to another, and this is the one that you want to take a look at. So the example here is pretty simple. So we have some time information here, and then we have some variables, favorite dog, and then some value. And basically what we will do here is to join the two data frames together based on time, which is the kind of common key information between these data sets. So if we know that the time in this data frame 1 has like January the 1st, 2017, and also the second data frame has the same date. So basically you can use that date information to actually join the variables or the data frames together, and that is how you can do. So basically if you have 700 something rows in the other one, so you want to join the 12 rows from that other data frame, which has the I guess it was the kind of yearly anomalies information, or the
average for each month.
The reference temperatures were on that one. So you want to join those data frames together in a way that basically each row in that 700 rows data frame will get all the values from the other one, so that basically you end up having multiple kind of duplicate values from that reference temperature data frames. So there is basically so the first join that we do here is basically doing just that. So because here we, for example, see that we end up having like 2 Plutos here, even though we had only one of them in the other data frame. So we are actually making this kind of outer join, which is also mentioned in the text. So that was a good question, and this is kind of the way how to deal with it easily.
Yeah, maybe could I ask, is it clear to you what the point was for comparing these different things, like conceptually? Ignoring what, like how you do it in Python, was the concept clear? I see one person saying yes, but a lot of you kind of just looking at me. Because the general idea is that if you look at the little animation that we showed at the beginning of the course about these temperature anomalies, and the sort of change in temperature globally over the last 100 years, or maybe a little more than that, what was done there is there's a reference period that temperature is calculated over, and everything is compared to this reference time. So it's pre-1950, or maybe it was 1950 to, I think it says somewhere here, yeah. So this base period from 1951 to 1980. The temperatures are all relative to that time period. So everything you see here with the different bars that are getting longer and shorter is a difference in average temperature between the temperatures between 1951 and 1980. Temperatures have gone up since that time, and so that works out then here that what you see is on average all of these red bars showing that temperatures are higher than they were in that reference period between 1951 and 1980. We wanted to try to simulate that same kind of thing in what we do here, and since we have the monthly values, we just figured, well, let's calculate what's the average temperature between 1951, or in our case 1952, and 1980 for the month of January. And then calculate the average temperature for February between, or over the range of dates from 1952 to 1980. So you end up with 12 average temperatures, one for each month of the year, and each one of those should be an average temperature between 1952 and 1980 for that given month. Then what we want to do is just compare how do these monthly average temperatures compare to the values that we see for the different months over the entire time they have from 1952 until 2017. So that's why you have 700 or some 690 values in the one data set. Those are going to be every month from 1952 to 2017, and then only 12 months in the other case. In order to be able to compare those two lists, then you have to do the table join. I did it a little bit differently, but that's because I'm not a pandas person. But that's the general idea. I think the way that Henry says in the hints, if you're having a hard time with how to compare these two lists, that is by far the easier way, at least from what we've learned.
Yeah, I guess that is the easiest one because, yeah, you did it with certain date functionalities that we didn't still cover.
Yeah.
We will cover them today, but yeah.
But we didn't know them last week.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that we wouldn't know them myself. Sorry about that. Yeah, so if there's other kind of outstanding questions about exercise 6, and there are things you feel like maybe the assistants can't answer, or you've already asked the assistants and haven't been satisfied with your answers, you're welcome to come talk to us at the break, after class. You can send a message on Slack or something. You can do direct messages there if you like, and find a time to meet with us or whatever. We're here and happy to assist where we can. And the frustration, I think, is clear, and we understand and just want to make sure that you don't reach the point that you start feeling like you should just give up, because there is still hope. But it might mean you just need to come get one or two questions answered, and suddenly you'll feel a little bit better about things.
Yeah, this was the first time that you kind of started to use those techniques that we kind of tried to teach you, and maybe not all of them, as we had these problems, but basically these same kind of approaches we are going to apply many times from this on. So you kind of get the repetition and learn to use them better and understand them better. And as said, so the deadline for the exercise 6 is at the same time as 7, meaning that if you still have problems with the exercise 6, you can still go to the practicalities and get help for that exercise as well. So cool, but I think we are good to move on.
Yeah.
Leave this behind.